It's day 23. Welcome back. These past 13 days have been a miserably hot and sweltering challenge. Since the last update, almost every single day has been in the mid to upper 90s. Several of those days, the heat indexes were over 100, and I'm pretty sure we set 2 to 3 high temperature records last week alone. It has been that hot. As you all saw in that little intro bit, the ryegrass took a huge beating. The KBG, though, is holding on pretty well. Those dirt stripes have filled in nicely, and now I'm just left with dirt patches from the rye, and KBG's starting to poke through there. I want to say right now that I have everything corrected. However, I'm still not 100% sure, but I have noticed a decrease in the rye going down and an increase of it growing back, what survived, and then the KBG thriving. Before we get into what I did to help combat this situation, we need to actually go back and take a look at what was going on. The first thing I did, like pretty much everyone's instinct to do when you deal with a little heat wave, is you increase your watering. Well, I increased it both in the duration as well as times per day. Another thing I did, or actually didn't do, was redo that other zone in the front yard. I mentioned that I was going to look into it. However, I got busy, everything was looking okay, but I didn't do that. Now third, we're going back to the temperatures. With those highs in the mid to upper 90s, my lows were in the upper 60s to lower 70s. So absolute prime time growth potential for any type of fungus issue. And that brings us to the last point, is I didn't do a preventative fungicide treatment. What did I do to bring me to today right now? Well, last Tuesday I went and purchased a bag of Scott's Disease X. The active ingredient in that is azoxystrobin. I applied that at the curative rate per the bag, which is 4 pounds per 1,000. Watered it in, even though I backed off on watering necessary evil, and got that put down. A few days later, it was actually Friday, I believe, I went ahead and I applied some propiconazole 14.3. Had to wait for that to come in from the old Amazons. I applied that at a rate of 2 ounces per 1,000. I was never able to identify what actual fungus I may or may not be dealing with. However, the azoxy and propiconazole combo is an effective combo. I did not see any like webbing, like fuzzy stuff. None of that was on the yard. Nothing red for red thread. So there was no mycelium, no little red thread. There was nothing. All there was wilting and brown grass. So the fungicide went down. Then I also backed off on the watering. Redid that secondary zone in the front yard. Got that working a little bit better. And I think my problem was actually overwatering. Everything was right for a fungus issue, but I want to say it was an overwatering issue, and for that we need to take a look at what my coverage looked like then with my previous sprinkler setup versus what it looks like now. So here is the overview of the front lawn. We have 2 different zones. The first zone's in blue, and those are the previous sprinkler head locations. The second zone is that fuchsia color, and those were their locations. Here are their spray patterns. As you can see, there's a good bit of overlap, but let's look at it here now. This is the overlap of both zones combined, and it looks quite similar to where I've been having some issues. Here's the current setup now, with the first sprinkler, second sprinkler, third sprinkler, and fourth sprinkler coming in right about now. So these here are 2 different zones. I didn't color code these ones, but the first 2 that popped up are one zone, the second 2 that popped up are the second zone. Coverage is better, however, there's still some overlap, but it's getting by, but I will have to redo things, and that's for a later video. Right now I'm in an evaluation phase. The KBG that I put down at that day 10 update and seeded in from the washout is coming in, and it's doing really, really well. but there's some areas there that I'm just not seeing any growth, and those are in the areas where I had the excess sprinkler overlap. Now that that's corrected, I'm just waiting to see if anything kind of pops up. There's always that chance now that there's a increased oxygen able to actually get down into the soil due to not being covered in a lot of water all the time, that some of this stuff will germinate. It's quite possible, so I'm just kind of in a wait and see. I really wanted to get an application of fertilizer down. However, I may hold off a day or two. I haven't decided yet. Things have been progressing in a positive direction slowly since Saturday, and it's only Monday right now, and I am seeing changes, so I'm just kind of in a wait and see approach on that. If it does come to the point though to where I need to add some more seed, and I'll probably end up adding just some more ryegrass as the KBG develops for uniformity's sake, I'm going to time those with probably my second tenacity application. That seems like an opportune time because I put the seed down, I spray the tenacity. It's like doing it over again, but only half of it. So we're looking at probably like Friday or Saturday, like the 28th or 29th, somewhere in there is when I'm going to make my decision to throw down more seed. While we're on the subject of tenacity, let's talk about some weed pressure I've faced. It hasn't really been too bad. I've had a little bit of spurge, actually a good chunk of that coming up. But one thing that has absolutely just killed me has been goosegrass. Now, I've never had a goosegrass problem in my front yard. I want to say, since I've lived in this house, I've seen it one time in one plant, and that was it. I have the goosegrass issue in the backyard, and while it is entirely possible that those seeds have been just sitting there in the soil dormant for however long, and now they're deciding to show face, I want to believe, and I actually truly believe, the side yard over here that I haven't talked about yet, I have goosegrass in an area where I fixed a spot. The dirt that I bought last year, that's the only thing I can think of. Everywhere where I added soil in the front yard to raise things up, I have a goosegrass issue. That brings us to the end of this update here. Things aren't going too well. However, they are on the up and up, and I am seeing positive results from my treatments of fungicide, decrease in the watering, and just sitting back and letting things happen and not trying to push something too much, too soon, too fast. So I'm really looking forward to how it pans out over the next 10 to 14 days because I believe that I'm going to see some massive improvements. I want to thank you all for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please hit the like and subscribe button to help support me out, and we will see you again soon in something else.